the show. This is The Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zammit. Let's get on with the news, views, reviews, and interviews. Yep. Big news today. Now, there was a movie announced that was never going to happen. Well, not was never going to happen. It is not going to happen. Kylo Ren, the character in episodes 7, 8, and 9, which is The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker, that's the sequel trilogy, technically the Disney era. One of the great characters wielding a crossed-looking red lightsaber. Kylo Ren, who was also known as Ben Solo. Kylo Ren was his the Knights of Ren name, but Knights of Ren is a group of very dirty, dark side sort of people. I wouldn't say Sith, but dark side. And Ben Solo was his actual birth name. He was the son of Princess Leia and Han Solo. Just to give you a backstory. But there was some news today that Adam Driver, who played Ben Solo, aka Kylo Ren, said there was a movie in the works after Episode 9. It was going to be held after Episode 9, and it was going to be called The Hunt for Kylo Ren. It's making big news at the moment amongst us Star Wars nerds. More about that a bit later on in the show, but let's get on with more news. Excuse me. There's also been a bit of talk about the Lando Calrissian live-action TV series, which starred in actual Solo, a Star Wars story. Lando Calrissian, the young version, not Billy D. Williams, the actor who played him originally, but Childish Gambino, who played him in the younger version in Solo, a Star Wars story. Lando Calrissian was the dark guy, the black guy, and he's the coolest guy, he's very suave, and he was also good friends with Han Solo, sort of on and off good friends, bit of, rivalry there. And so so they were going to have a live action TV series. Now, the Solo, a Star Wars story, was almost 10 years ago. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a little bit out of any desire, but anyway, that is also making news. Lando Calrissian, there was a bit of talk of the possibility of Lando, a Star Wars live TV action series on Disney Plus. A bit more about that later on, maybe in the next couple of segments. So that's the news for this time around. Let's get into the views. Views is my story idea. I accept the story for Star Wars as it is. It is good. With a little bit of bad, it is good. With a little bit of bad, that's how it goes. Anyway, my story idea, just to give my input, let's sort of concentrate on this sort of, big news, the hunt for Ben Solo that was going to be after Episode 9. I'll tell you this. I think that the title is pretty basic and the idea is pretty basic. It's a bit too straightforward. And yet again, this would be another death that would be revived. Don't get me wrong, there's some characters out there that are great characters, but, we've got to learn that whoever has died, this is to the story writers of Star Wars, that's it. They are dead. And if you've killed them and you've made a mistake and shouldn't have killed them off and you want them back because their fans love them, well, that is, just checking the mic, that is how it goes. So I think my story idea is, funny enough, no story for the hunt of Ben Solo. Apparently, Adam Driver, who plays Ben Solo, aka Kylo Ren, said the story was amazing. You know, you can't really take anything much from that besides what he's taking it as. I'm a bit surprised that he wanted to do more after the backlash of Star Wars and being such a big actor, but he apparently loves the character Kylo Ren / Ben Solo, which I like as well. But I just think there's no real story there, even if he was revived. It's a bit done and dusted. We need to. I think there's more story behind Rey Skywalker. I know that's a big controversial thing to say, but I think there's more story behind Rey Skywalker than Ben Solo, in my humble opinion. That's my story idea, which is actually a story idea that is no story as the idea for Hunt for Ben Solo. Just, there's no real story there. Just leave it. Let's just get on with Starfighter, which is how 5 years after the Rise of Skywalker episode 9. It's my idea of possibly it's going to be episode 10, but anyway, that's it. Let's move on. Let's get into reviews. Speaking of Kylo Ren and Ben Solo and all that, one of the big collectible things that I got, this is actually from the this is from the Last Jedi, toy series, and this was a die-cast version of Kylo Ren's ship. Look at that, Hot Wheels too. It's Hot Wheels and Star Wars coming together. Hot Wheels, and I think it's the Hot Wheels. That's his ship, still in the pack, die-cast. That is cool. His ship was actually quite cool. It's his, it's his personal fighter, not his big sort of three-winged one. So that is, this here I would give about an 8 out of 10. Packaging is okay. The actual aircraft is, pretty good. So an 8 out of 10. I definitely would hold that prized possession as well because, Last Jedi was greatly hated by a lot of people, which is episode 8, but still there would be collectible merch like this. Unique merch, not just the figures, but this type of Hot Wheels, Star Wars sort of thing. It's really good. See, it's back on there. It's got a stand. If you look on the stand, it's got the First Order logo. Quite genius. 8 out of 10. Let's get into Michael from Werby's house. Favourite segment is it's interviews, and it's really pretty much Michael from Werby's house. Now you can, send in any comments, which is questions, straight to my YouTube channel. Don't worry about it in Instagram or Twitter or TikTok. I don't really use them. I have a personal Instagram, but that doesn't matter. You don't need it's not really a Star Wars thing. But send your questions and like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you can. Straight to the YouTube channel, The Force Always. Anyway, Michael from Werby South, he loves to ask questions. What questions does he have for me now? Let's have a look. So, what will the plot be in Star Wars Starfighter movie? How do you envision this if you were a creator? Technically, that's 2 questions in one. So, let me answer that. What will the plot in Star Wars Starfighter movie? What will the plot be in Star Wars Starfighter, the movie? Nothing has been announced in the actual plot, the synopsis, nothing. So we don't know anything at all besides images and guessing and theories. That's it. There's no official plot yet. Even with the descriptions of who Amy Adams, the actress in this particular Starfighter film, is, even with the little child, even with the Ryan Gosling. All these are just nothing, indent in cement yet. But how do you envision if you were a creator? Well, there's lots of aspects to a story to create a story. But in this particular story, Starfighter, because it's coming out in the 50th anniversary and it's also after episode 9, I would definitely be having this to be a episode 10 release. That's what I would do. I would just make, this is what I would envision this particular movie be, is episode 10. And I don't think this will be announced, if it does get announced, until a month or two before the release date of it, which is in 2027, which will be Star Wars Celebration in LA. That's what I think is going to happen. That's what I envision if I was the creator, according to Michael's question. Anyway, so the next question Michael has, what is Star Wars 1313? Why was it cancelled? Now, I did not know anything about this until Michael brought this up. So I looked into it, and it was actually a game, a real great effects, visually stunning camera moves, jolting of the camera, shuddering, the scenery, the likeness in the actual game. It was an epic looking game, but this was going to be released around 2013, and that was just around the time that Disney acquired Lucasfilm, Star Wars and stuff like that. So then I think it got a bit lost in the mix. Now maybe Disney wanted to put that off and release it at another time, because it had nothing to do with what they wanted to do at that point in time, back in 2013 and before that. But I think it got lost. They may have just said scrap it, but I tell you what, if you see a bit of what 1313 is, just look it up on YouTube and include Star Wars 1313, just in case you go to something else that's 1313. It's actually really good. I would be a gamer if I had much more time, but I'm not a gamer. I'm surprised, to be honest, but I'm not a gamer. I enjoy games. I just don't game. And why was it cancelled? I think it was because it was just a bit of a timing issue with Disney taking over. So it either got lost, or Disney put it on hold, or possibly it will be released down the track as another version of, but similar story idea to the gameplay. I don't know. Anyway, the next question, and the final question for Michael from Werribee South, is if you could ask George Lucas a question, what would you ask him? Well, this is a big question to ask, Michael from Werribee South. I would, you can't really ask, you would have to have multiple questions. That's the thing. Like, I would probably ask him, maybe, do you think where the story has gone since you left it in from one to all the way to 6 episodes, 1 to 6, and so 7, 8, 9, do you think it's gone in a way that is constructive and good and things like that? Maybe that's the type of question to ask him. I'd also, another question I'd probably ask him is, can I get a photograph? Can I get an autograph? 2 other questions. There's so many questions that I would ask, like the intricacies of the religious, aspects to the Jedi, how the hell he created the look of the film, which is a very modern, used future thing, as he's called it before. There's so many questions. I don't know if there's one question you'd ask George Lucas besides multiple, and I think he's been asked a lot of questions a lot in his life. I'm sure he knows to stay away from big Star Wars events. At the moment, he's working on his own museum in LA, which should be open in 2026. Now, people are thinking that this is going to be a Star Wars museum, which I thought it was going to be a Star Wars museum, but a lot of it is his own personal type of art, not what he's created, what he's collected. A very small section of the whole museum will be dedicated to Star Wars, which I think is going to be a bit of a sore point to a lot of people visiting that museum. I think people expect the Star Wars thing to be bigger and better, and I think people will definitely hover around that area, whatever they've got in the museum of Star Wars. I personally think you should create it to be a Star Wars museum, but anyway, that's George Lucas in his mindset now. He's free to do whatever he wants to do. For the last 13 years, he's been retired from Star Wars and technically life. He just likes to relax. Anyway, so that is the final question from Michael from Wherever South. He loves questions. If you have a question, again, please send me the question via YouTube, my YouTube channel, The Force Always. There's no other outlet that I have at the moment to have those questions. Comment. If you want to make a comment, make a comment. Like the video. It will help traction of this video. Anyway, until next time, my friends, keep rocking.